You're getting ready to leave the house. You grab your watch, slide it onto your wrist, and without even thinking, it goes on your left hand. Not the right, the left. It feels natural, automatic, almost universal. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, because the everyday things around us often hide stories no one ever told us. Now here's the surprising truth. Most people believe watches are worn on the left simply because that's how it's supposed to be. But that answer doesn't actually explain anything. Traditions don't appear out of nowhere. They usually solve a problem. And this one goes back further than you might expect. Wristwatches didn't start as everyday fashion accessories. In fact, for a long time, serious men wore pocket watches. Wristwatches were considered delicate, almost decorative. That changed during war. In the early 20th century, especially during World War I, soldiers needed a faster way to check the time. Pulling a pocket watch out during combat wasn't practical. It was slow, dangerous, sometimes impossible. So they strapped watches to their wrists. Here's what surprises most people. The majority of soldiers were right-handed, and in combat, your dominant hand matters. It's the one holding your weapon, the one writing notes, the one doing precise movements. So where does the watch go? On the opposite hand. Wearing it on the non-dominant wrist meant you could check the time without interrupting your main hand. It reduced interference. It kept your stronger hand free. And since most people are right-handed, that meant watches naturally landed on the left wrist. After the wars, returning soldiers kept the habit, and habits, when repeated by millions of people, become culture. But that's only part of the story. There's also design. Traditional mechanical watches had a small winding crown, that tiny knob used to adjust the time or wind the spring. On most watches, that crown was placed on the right side of the case. Why? Because if the watch sits on your left wrist, you can adjust it using your right hand. It's smoother, more precise, more comfortable. If you wore it on your right wrist, your left hand would have to reach awkwardly across to wind it. It feels clumsy. Try it and you'll notice immediately. This is where most people get confused. They assume the watch industry decided the rule, but in reality, the industry followed human behavior. Manufacturers observed that most people wore watches on the left wrist, so they designed watches to fit that habit. And once watches were built that way, it reinforced the behavior even more. A perfect feedback loop. Behavior shaped design, design shaped behavior. But what about today? We're no longer in trenches. Most watches are digital. Many don't even need winding. And yet, the left wrist tradition remains. Why? Because comfort still matters. Your dominant hand moves more. It writes, lifts, gestures, opens doors, shakes hands. Wearing a watch on that wrist increases the chance of scratches, impacts, and discomfort. Putting it on your non-dominant hand protects it. It reduces wear and tear. It keeps the bulk of the watch from interfering with fine motor movements. There's also something psychological happening. When you grow up seeing almost everyone wear a watch on the left wrist, your brain labels that as normal. Anything else feels slightly off. Not wrong, just unusual. And humans are wired to follow subtle social patterns without realizing it. But here's the interesting twist. Left-handed people often reverse this. If you're left-handed, your dominant hand is the left, so many left-handed individuals wear their watch on the right wrist instead. The logic stays the same. Protect the dominant hand. In fact, some watch brands now make special left-handed models. These watches place the crown on the left side of the case, specifically designed to be worn on the right wrist. So the rule isn't really left wrist. The real rule is this. Wear it on the hand that interferes the least with your life. And that's the deeper truth most people never think about. What feels like a universal tradition is actually a quiet solution to everyday efficiency. It's not about fashion. It's not about status. It's about practicality that's slowly turned into culture. And once culture takes over, we stop questioning it. The next time you fasten your watch and instinctively slide it onto your left wrist, you'll know it's not random. It's the result of history, war, design, ergonomics, and human psychology all converging into one small daily habit, something you've done hundreds of times without thinking. And that's the fascinating part, because the smallest routines in our lives often carry the longest stories behind them. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden logic behind something so simple, leave a like, share this with someone who wears a watch every day, and subscribe for more explanations that make the ordinary feel extraordinary, because sometimes the simplest things hide the most misunderstood truths.